Kia ora and welcome to another episode of the Stag Roar podcast. This episode I'm joined by Lennie Brooky, host of the NRL podcast and owner of Fitzone, Matamata Te Rapa, Paeroa and Mahi, known as the Maori CEO on Instagram. You can check him out. Check out all the links in the show notes. Search him on Spotify. And yeah, what an absolute legend. We broke Lennie's arepa virginity on this, so if you'd like to get your hands on some arepa from their website, you can use the code STAGRAW for 20% off. Like most things, that's just in the show notes. So without further ado, let's get into, I think it's episode 297 of the Stag Roar podcast with Lennie Brooky from Fitzone and the Kiwi NRL podcast. Cheer. Tried these arepas before?
Nah, I haven't actually. I've been meaning to, so that's handy.
Well, there you go.
Get to try one.
That first sip's a bit of a shock.
Is it?
Yeah. Like, I don't know if did you ever drink Ribena syrup when you were young?
Yeah, drank a little bit of Ribena when I was a kid.
Yeah, so it's like the syrup.
Ooh.
Yeah. There's a sparkling and light as well.
It is like Ribena, but a bit more of like a bitterness to it.
Yeah.
Brain food.
So it's got like pine bark extract, which apparently has L-theanine in it.
Yeah.
I think that's right. Oh, and then
It says it there, yep.
blackcurrant is nootropic. Blackcurrant skins.
Interesting.
Backed by science, they reckon.
Designed and tested by neuroscientists.
Yeah, dude in Australia, professor of neuroscience. And then they've got Sam, I can't remember his last name, at Arepa, who's also a neuroscientist at Auckland at the Brain Lab.
Mad.
Yeah.
Alpha. That's good, yeah.
Is your brain in good nick?
Is that in good nick? I've got a shocking memory. So I don't know. Yeah, I think it goes alright.
Yeah. Have you ever played rugby league?
Me?
Yeah.
Yes. So, we grew up playing rugby here in Matamata, Hanuera, and then we always grew up watching league as well. And then there's no league around here, so when I think I must have been about 23, my brother and a few of my mates, we just said, I will give league a crack. So we started travelling over to Tauranga to play for Otamoto Eels. So we played there for about 6 or 7 years, and then I just kept getting injured, so I stopped playing.
What was the comp?
So Otamoto Eels were part of Coastline, and then that wasn't very big, so there's only about, I think, 4 clubs that form the Coastline sort of area.
How far down? A Portakey or no?
Nah, Whakatane, would be as far as you go, usually. And then sometimes we'd join, and like Bay of Plenty would be the Rotorua area. And there was a little bit of beef between that's why you have Coastline and Bay of Plenty. And then
classic New Zealand sport.
Yeah, and then we'd some years it'll be together. And then they also had Waikoa Bay, which was like Waikato, Bay of Plenty and Coastline all together, which was the better comp you wanted to play, because then you're playing the likes of, Tane Wharo, Te Ranga Waiwai, Hamilton City. Then Tukarawa part of that too. So Tukarawa part of the Bay of Plenty part of the comp.
The two teams.
Yeah. So you'd play Pacific Sharks and the like. So Waikoa Bay was definitely when that was way cooler playing that. And then when there were fallouts, good old New Zealand Rugby League, we'd have to revert back to the Coastline one, which was kind of, you play the same teams twice kind of thing. But it was fun.
Is this still the provincial comp or nah? It just keeps falling out.
Yes, I'm not sure. I know Waikato's strong. But I don't know. So I think I have to check what they're doing this year, but I can't remember because it does change quite often. But it doesn't look like any the Coastline teams are playing with, because I'm pretty sure. I need to think. I don't know if Bay of Plenty are part of that either. No, I think Waikato's just by itself this year, but it's a strong comp without Bay of Plenty or...
Because it's expensive to travel.
Yeah, and it's quite a wide area. And I remember one year they actually had they had a Gisborne team in there. And we had a bus trip down there from.
Fun, but...
Yeah, so we travel. That was a lot of travel. But they came up here. Oh, no, I missed that away game, which was handy. They played us up here. And then the mayor at the time was Ming Foon. He's a Chinese guy that's fluent in Te Reo Māori.
Wow.
He was the Gisborne mayor. He's not now, but I think he's the head of New Zealand's race relation minister. And he got up and then we didn't know he could speak Te Reo Māori. There's just this Chinese guy, and he gets up and just full fluent. And it's like, whoa. That's what I remember from that. But yeah, the local comps, I mean, some really good players, but it's just what league misses what rugby has is like that structure and
systems and
the systems to like make sure everything's... I mean, they have it in Auckland. Auckland's like obviously the hotbed for rugby league in New Zealand, but in the regions it's a bit tougher because they're still playing on a Saturday. So that means guys have to choose, like they have to play rugby or league, and when you're doing that, that's a bit difficult because then you're asking them to choose. So
yeah, I know Invercargill plays on a Sunday.
Yeah, it's probably a smarter thing to do.
Yeah,
I know what they've done in the Hauraki area for the last couple of years is after rugby season they have a short league season. So a lot of the rugby clubs up like so Paeroa, Te Aroha teams maybe, and just up the Coromandel, most of the rugby teams put in a league team at the end of their rugby season, and they play I think it's about a 6-week comp, which is pretty cool because a lot of the guys, want to play league or have a go, and they have never really played it. So I think that's a lot better idea than you're not fighting. If you're in the regions like in Waikato or mainly around this area, like if you don't want to go and try to fight rugby union because you just won't get any traction.
Yeah. Actually, speaking of rugby union, I wonder how the final's going. My old club, Hotapu, is up there against the Yaaarns boys.
Oh shit, that'll be a good battle.
Yeah, at Memorial Park as well. So, yeah, they played each other 2 weeks ago. I think Marist had like a fundraiser day for mental health and things, and Marist got up in both games. Oh, so it'll be interesting how 2 weeks on goes.
That's right.
Yeah,
that'll be a decent battle. So is that the final?
Yeah, final.
Shit, that's gone fast, eh?
Yeah, Auckland's in the semi-finals. Varsity are in that up there. But yeah, I don't think Auckland had any big lead in. I think it was basically semis and final. I think last round was last week and straight into it.
Random. It's that's flying by, eh? Yeah. People are playing finals already.
And yeah, that's what I was saying about being in Matamata. That's basically the only reason I've come to Matamata is play over the couple of blocks away.
Bedford Park.
Yeah.
The theatre of dreams.
How, you said you played for Hinuera, so how big is the Matamata catchment? Because Morrinsville's not far away either.
Yeah, it's there used to be there used to be, from my memory, 3 clubs. So we've got Waharoa, which is 8 minutes towards Auckland from here. And they had a club out there, and then Hinuera's 8 minutes that way. And then Waharoa combined with Matamata, and then that's where you get United Matamata Sports. Yeah. So there's a decent amount of players, but like you say, there's Morrinsville's very close, Cambridge, even Patataru's only Matamata's just close to everywhere. That's why it's not a bad place to live. You're close enough to cities and stuff, but without having to wait at the bloody stop-go lights.
Yeah. Did you grow up here?
Yes. So originally born in Tikawiti. But yeah, pretty much from the age of... We weren't at Tikawiti for that long, and then moved up here. And then we done a stint in Ngākuru, which is just south of Rotorua. But apart from that, grew up here. So done all my schooling in Matamata. First primary, Matamata intermediate, and Matamata college. Yeah. But not born, raised.
So what brought you guys to the area?
Well, what happened? Oh, so my dad was, his family were sheep farmers just in Aria, just out of Tikawiti. And my mum was actually grew up in Hinuera. But her parents, or my nan and koro, moved down from up north to get work and all that. How they met was my mum's brothers. They all were in a shearing gang that went down and was shearing for my granddad down there. And then that mum was part of the kitchen, so she was making the food, and then she fell in love with a sheep farmer called Ross.
On your Ross.
So, and then they were farming, and then we were farming down King Country area, and then we've got my father, but also my brother has it now too. It's a heart condition. It's basically, what's it called? Hypertrophic cardiovascular something. So basically, there's a muscle in your heart that over time slowly grows and overgrows, and then it ends up blocking off one of your main.
Jesus.
Yeah. So the old fella was at work down the farm somewhere, and then just like passed out because it kind of creeps up on you because you can't really notice. Yeah. And then he came back like hours later, and Mum's like, because back then you don't have a phone or anything, he didn't have a watch on. He's like, where you been? He's like, oh, I kind of fainted. She's like, you've been gone for like hours.
Oh dear.
Yeah, so then my mum couldn't drive, so then he drove.
Good.
Drove into the Kiwi hospital and then passed out again once they got there. And then, they found out our family's got that genetic thing, so he couldn't farm anymore, so they moved here. And then, we just kind of stayed here. Mum ended up being like an aged care worker doing nights. When she first started, it was minimum wage. So 6 kids in a housing corp home here in Matamata, and she'd work nights, and the old boy would look after us. But pretty tough at times growing up. But it was actually, it's funny because when you're a kid, you don't really notice those sort of things. But like all my friends my siblings' friends always wanted to come to our house, and it's like, we've got nothing.
Just hang out.
You've got a PlayStation.
Get imaginative.
Yeah, you've got a Mega Drive. Let's go to your house. Yeah. They want to come to our house and dig a hole. It's like, what the? But
Just to do that, we in our neighbourhood we dug a hole that was so big we could stand up in it.
Yeah.
And then it filled up with water.
We
Because did you have sort of people that had paddocks for backyards?
Oh yeah, we had heaps of my friends were had from farming families, and we'd want to go. It was so weird. Like, I guess it was a fun household. Like, we were all packed into this little house, and all my siblings and I were all like best friends. So I think other kids like to come into that environment. But so grew up in Matamata. It's funny too. Like, growing up, like you want to just go somewhere cooler. Yeah. But then went away and done stints in cities, and eventually moved back. You kind of think, oh, it's actually not that bad. It's actually a great place to bring up kids, actually. So,
being from Invercargill, I feel that way as well. And like, we live over in Tokoroa, and you tell everybody, oh, you live in Tokoroa, oh, it's pretty. You go, why is it rough? Like what about it is rough? Yeah, it's like we live in a cul-de-sac. There's a park right there. There's the pool right there.
There's some great facilities in Tokoroa, actually.
Yeah, we were off. I think we're off to the pool tomorrow. It's just like we're at the skate park today, and Flying Fox still. There's still Flying Fox in Tokoroa.
Oh shit, they're still hanging on to one of those.
Yeah, it's
That'll be a relic soon.
Pretty grindy, but it's good times. And I think it's funny when people just have no idea what are you looking for in a place.
That's right. Yeah, I guess they just go off assumptions or stigmas of an area.
Yeah. Have you ever you've got young kids? Have you ever done the hey guys, we're going, and so you go pack up the car and then they don't come, so you drive off?
Oof, I don't know if I've done the drive off yet.
we drove around to the next car park, and they were kind of like running over, like, what are you doing? They were like,
oh, whoops.
Yeah, well, whoops. But they were completely oblivious. It was kind of like we were back in the car park, and they were sort of like, oh, like, don't care, don't know. And they were trying to like, oh, we were going to get some ice creams. And they're like, oh, chop lip.
No, I haven't fully forgot. I've left them at home by accident. Like, kind of like, let's go, and then, oh, no kids.
Accidentally on purpose?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. No, the best one I had growing up, and it did change my life. I started to be much more organised after that, but I'd never have my shoes ready. Mum sent me to school with one shoe.
Oh, she said, stuff you. You can go with one shoe.
One shoe. But joke was on her. We walked to the library that day and walked past my great aunt's furniture shop, and my grandma was in there as well, just like, g'day. Joke's on her. But no, after that I was very organised and room got a lot tidier after doing that.
It's shocking, eh? Kids with clothes. Our young fella, Mikaire, started. He goes to. I forgot the name of it. He goes to the full immersion Maori school in Pataruru.
Mm-hmm.
It's shocking, I can't say it.
It's kaupapa?
Yeah, kura kaupapa. It's te wharakura o kaukora o Pāti Tere. Was it the other way around? Anyway, great school actually.
Sound like me yesterday trying to sing the Matariki song.
Yeah.
Is it Pohutukawa or Ororangi first?
Yeah, our kids have got that down. But yeah, he'd just leave all his stuff. He'd come back home on the bus like pretty much naked. It's like, what's going on? Just leaves everything behind. So yeah, we didn't buy any more new uniforms after that. It's all these secondhand ones. It's like not worth it.
Go every week. Go find your shit in the lost and found, mate.
Oh, shoes! The amount of shoes we've gone through.
Oh dear. How fluent are you?
Me, not very. I've done a few courses, but yeah, I have real basic knowledge of te reo. But my wife and I decided early on that we wanted our kids to be fluent in both English and te reo. So yeah, we've done the kōhanga thing and then on to full immersion Māori. So that's been an interesting journey because a lot of people, especially like around in Matamata, we've been like, oh, so your boy would have started school, like, you know, which one is it, Matamata Primary or this one? And it's like, oh, he goes to the full immersion Māori school out at Pataruru. And they're like, really? A lot of times you get the old why. Why? It's like, pretty obvious why. But it's a bit of an eye opener for some people, or just challenges what they kind of. We get a lot of like, but yeah, after the kapahaka and that, what else do they do, like at school? Like, you know, kind of questions, like, and they're like legit, like, they're like, what about maths and science? And it's like, well, you can count in Māori and you can do science, and it's like science, but you translate that into Māori words. Like you can, it's like a school, like you still learn stuff. But a lot of people is like, you're going to learn about Maui, do some kapahaka, and it's like, what else are they going to do?
So when it comes to like science and maths, so they're just sort of caught up in, probably because the only exposure they would have had would have been mythology. Is that right? They like get stuck at mythology.
Yeah, kind of. It's just it's an interesting one because my wife's Pākehā, but she's from Gisborne, so it's a really heavily populated with Māori in Gisborne. So she really kind of understands the culture as well. So she gets it. So it's a big call for her too to be like, yeah, well, I want our kids to, because it is different. It is like, it is school, but it is very different. And there's some, like, even just the first pōwhiri, so we went there and lots of the grandparents came. It was epic. But yeah, no, Emma's parents, well, her dad was a bit like, oh, I'm not sure about this. Like, this is like, you know, because it is a bit of like a shock, because you can do the pōwhiri that most schools will do, but it's probably never at the level of like a full immersion school, like pōwhiri proper. You're sitting there and like teachers are getting up, and it was just amazing. But yeah, it was full on, and he was, obviously it's his first day. He's going to school, so he's a bit upset. He said it's too loud.
It's scary.
Yeah, but they sing bloody loud, and the haka and that's when he was like, whoa, this is like. But now because every term they do a pōwhiri to welcome on all the new kids, and so now he's part of that, and now he's just so used to it. And then even just seeing him like sing and do the haka and that, no, it's cool. Just, and even just his knowledge of words, like he's like our little dictionary. So, what's that in Māori? Like, how do I say this in Māori? And even my wife's doing a bit of there's that book, Everyday, what's it called? Māori Made Easy. There it is. I can see my one up there. By Scotty Morrison. It's great. You got little activities you do every single morning, and he's helping her with that. Like, how would you say they didn't put the dishes in the dishwasher? And he'll just be like, oh, blah, blah, blah. Just like rattle it off, and I'm just like, that's cool.
That's awesome.
I wish I could do that. And it's kind of part of me is like, you know, trying to reconnect with the languages. I've done, like I said, I've done courses and that, but when you're not, it's real hard to hold it when you're not using it. So seeing the kids do it, now it's starting to reinforce some of the stuff I had learned. So then you're starting to conversate. We're shocking at using it. We need to use it more. But just seeing how easily they can just flip in between the two, or even just how easily they can live in like both kind of worlds as well. They're very, because like for me growing up, because my koro and nan moved down here, we weren't really connected to our marae and that, and to being like Maori, I guess. And so now when we go up there, I'm a little bit more confident, but you kind of like, it's really like you get scared basically.
Where's your marae?
So my nan's one's just out of Dargaville, and it's called a O2 day, and then my koro's one's up in Hokianga there at Opunoni or Mapiri technically. But yeah, it's beautiful up there. So yeah, what I want for my kids is that they can go there and be like very confident in who they are as Māori and just as themselves. Because I'd love nothing better than, I'd love to be able to just stand up and like fully like, stand up on the marae and just be real confident and just, because to watch people speak like that, like it always like blows me away. I'm like, man, that'd be cool to do.
Yeah, that was what was awesome with Matatini on TV and on TikTok and stuff this year. Just
it was awesome, eh?
Seeing that day before and even a bit of beef going down like that.
Oh yeah, that was actually quite that was quite good, wasn't it? That was a Tainui and my cousins there, Ngāti Whātua, because that's an interesting intersection, Auckland. Intersection of you didn't really have straight line maps back in the day, so it's all a bit blurry.
Yeah, well, and even like I've watched that Radio New Zealand doco about the three sort of takeovers.
Yes,
up north.
That's right.
Main South Road and then Waitara, and like having been on Dairy Farm in Waitara, I was like, "Whoa, this place is quite intense, eh?"
Yeah, it is. Like there's that one about Great South Road. It's funny because you see these places and you don't really think anything of it. And you think, oh, that main highway is just
Rangariri in particular.
Yeah, they built that to get all the army and that down there to kind of, what's the word, politely remove people.
Yeah, well, and even like was earlier this year or into last year, Manipoto got a apology. And I sort of asked a guy that in up in Auckland, like, who's part of Manipoto, and he said, well, he's like, I can't even bring myself to read it. He's like, here's the link. I sort of had a read through, and having watched that, I was like, yeah, that doesn't quite address stuff. And then he was talking about his iwi up north, like far north, and just how slowly land got taken away. They weren't resourced or anything. It was just kind of like,
it just kind of slowly disappeared.
Yeah.
And they had that they'd have someone come, I forgot exactly what the government done, but they had someone come in and they had an officer that would go around, and if you weren't using the land in the way they thought was productive,
they kind of
they could just take it over, because they're just going to make it more productive for you, and then it just ended up, everyone's...
Yeah, that was exactly the similar story to
and
what
it's
I was
just
reading.
Like smaller and smaller and smaller. So my nan's marae O2 day, there's a farm that neighbours it basically, and it was leased off our whānau for generations by the family next door. But somewhere in there, it just became
their farm.
They owned it.
Yeah.
And there's like no real like change of like ownership or anything, but it's interesting. There's lots of that sort of thing. And now there's, especially with the house, the cost of living, and that a lot of the cousins that are living in Auckland want to try and move back there because they have
the land. Yeah.
But there's bugger all left. Like there's some land there, but you're fighting over scraps, which is a bit unfortunate. Because even my mum, she superseded. So her and her siblings have a chunk that's quite small, and then she's got, I think there was 8 of them, seven siblings, and then they have the chunk of that, and then now all the kids have a chunk of what their chunk was. So my family and that, my mum, like our immediate family, kind of, was superseding the word? We gave it back to the whānau up there because, one, it was quite small, and then two, it's like they probably would use it more than we would. So
and I think like from the Irish perspective, people should be able to relate to this quite easily. Like that's the whole reason my ancestors came out here in the late 1800s.
That's right.
Like, there's like 6 or 7 kids, and it's like, well, one of you can stay here,
and the rest have to go.
What's the rest of you
going to do?
Yeah, and even then, the next generation there, that they ended up having like 6 kids, and then their parents were, died pretty young.
Yeah.
It's like, well, we can't all stay here.
It was like, yeah, that's right. And yeah, it's interesting. It's sometimes when like, you know, when I've watched those RNZ docos and, you know, when you're just learning about stuff, you just go through this real phase of like just being actual like sad at the start, then you're like pissed off.
Yeah.
It's weird. You go like, it's like really sad. You get pissed off. It kind of goes in cycles, and then you kind of
have a little grief moment, eh?
yeah, and then you kind of reason it out, and then all the rest, and you not move on. But it's really hard to it's really hard to have an answer or like how we can fix. It's like probably not really fixable, but it's just about making it. I just think a lot of people don't know that stuff, so you hear it all the time, like, oh, you know, they just want more stuff. They've got their hands out wanting more. I remember I had a guy I used to work with, a mate of mine, and he's from up north. And I remember one comment he made was like, not knowing I was Ngāpuhi, but he was like, oh, it's classic Ngāpuhi, always got their hand out wanting more, wanting it all free or something. And it was just like, there's quite a few people who have that kind of, you know, like
relationship with it, eh?
Yeah, like they don't really, or
very surface level stuff.
Yeah, and they kind of not. I think also some of it's not understanding, it's that fear, and then not fully understanding it. So then you go to like
block it off.
It's not really a thing. Like, oh, you need to get over it. Like, you know, it was hundreds of years ago. You guys used to eat each other, so
just minimize it, eh?
Yeah, when it's not like quite often. Like, I don't think you can't give it all back, but it's just about understanding. You're getting a greater understanding of why some Maori are quite upset because they have a reason to be.
Yeah.
So it's just understanding that. But yes, it's all education. It's all knowledge, I guess.
Yeah. Part of my sort of relationship with it is like I grew up very lucky going to a primary school, St. Joseph's, that had a marae next door.
Oh, sweet.
Like
yeah.
we'd do kapahake and go to kaupapa. That'd be awesome. And then there was sort of a more bilingual primary school.
Oh, cool.
Rockdale Park. So we had these two schools in Invercargill that.
Oh, really? That's interesting. Oh, you wouldn't think.
No, you wouldn't. But you'd show up to these competitions and there'd be responses and like awards would get accepted, and then they'd speak back into that, and you're like, holy cow, like
that's cool, man.
Yeah, actually people that can live this world within Invercargill. And then now my stepdaughter's she's part of Waimarama Marae and then Kaitahu, but we're sort of removed from that now. And then my partner's also found out that she's Te Awa, and it's well, how does she get into that? How do you find out
reconnect with that? And
and especially like through her dad, sort of only let her know towards the end of his life, and it's like,
oh, well,
you know, he probably like didn't even connect with it with his whakapapa or anything.
Yeah.
And it's just real strange to then bring it back. And
it's always like such a common story at these days with my siblings as well, just kind of trying to reconnect with being Maori, like, because being like half and half, we kind of operated in not fully in the Maori world that much, but we kind of were operating like but we just weren't, because I think when we used to go up north at only when someone would die or something we'd go up there, so we didn't really have that connection. But our only real connection with being Maori probably is that we're a part of the Rātana church, so it's just basically Christianity and Maori, but that's where we hear the language. That's probably where our tie into being Maori mostly was. So it's just trying to figure out more about our whakapapa, and we've only just recently reconnected with my koro side up in Hokianga, whereas because he moved down to Dargaville with my nan, like kind of just moved away from up there and never went back. So it's been cool. We've been on a bit of a journey as a family, like figuring out, these are all your cousins. And
so where's the Rātana Church based?
So Rātana Church is based just out of Wanganui.
Yeah, I thought so. Yeah. But
so that's since we've got the Arapa drink, but Te Arapa is down in Rātana, the town.
Oh wow! Yeah.
And Te Omeka is just out. If you're going over to Tauranga, there's a Te Omeka marae just out here, and that's another main point for the Rātana Church is just out of Tipoi there, Hanuera. Yeah.
Do you know who the missionary was?
The man himself? So I got a pretty good grip on Rātana and his role in New Zealand history. Really, it's quite an interesting story. Have you heard much about him?
No, just see it. The gathering every year on the news, and the Prime Minister turns up.
Yeah,
sometimes.
that's probably everyone's. Most people, that's how they know it. But yeah, so basically, especially with the treaty, without him, like the treaty wouldn't be acknowledged, in Parliament as it is today. So basically, through the Bible and that, his mission was to like unite all the Maori people, because at the time, I'm bad with years, but I think it was after the Second World War, and like a lot of Maori were coming back to find they had nothing. So like a lot of
as in giving their service for the country.
Yeah, and they'd come back, and then they'd have a lot of servicemen were given like land and like all the basically most of the Maori ones were given like scraps or like nothing. And then at that time, Maori were pretty much third world, living in New Zealand as is that the word? Third world kind of country. That's how they were kind of living. So they were
peasant life.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and they're scratching to make ends meet, and so basically, his mission was through the church. He united he went around to all the iwis and that, and because at the time, most iwis still had we don't like them because they done this, and there's a lot of that still happening. So I think he was the first one to get. I think he got about 50,000 signatures on a petition of Māori, and it's it was the first time anyone had managed to unify that many Māori people at once. And they took that to Parliament, and it was about getting the treaty acknowledged in Parliament, and getting the government to acknowledge that they weren't upholding their end of the bargain. So that was the first time iwis and New Zealand basically were united in that way. And then they had a political party as well. And then, they were just a massive part of getting the treaty on the table, and actually a working piece of, a working document, or getting it closer to being acknowledged, and that it wasn't being upheld, and that the Māori people were, And
so was the connection Christianity.
Yep. So he's a prophet and a visionary, so which some people probably think this is crazy, but so he was, he basically, he had a mission given from God that said for the Maori people to see the returning of their lands and their people to what they once were, that he needed to unite them together with using God as a tool to unite everyone together, because that's the only way that it would lift them out of what they're in, basically. So that's a real layman's version of it. Yeah, because there's a lot to it.
Yeah. No, because looking back at my school, it was a Catholic school and a Catholic marae.
Yeah.
And I, for a long time, wondered, why did we have a marae at school? But then, Invercargill being quite Protestant, and then obviously the role of Christian faith in Māoridom.
Yeah.
Then I was that's obviously the Catholic hub.
In
Invercargill.
Yeah.
And then I was I wonder what that means for the relationships that go on down there.
It's and that's the other thing, quite often when Ratana was going around, because Christianity was also used in a way that wasn't so great, especially with colonization and that. So a lot of people were off him because he was using that's what he believed in, he was using Christianity to get it up there. But no, it's a really interesting story. You don't really, it's a big part of history though, literally the treaty wouldn't be, but no one really.
Well, that's quite buzzy that it's acknowledged every year, the Ratana Church.
But a lot of politicians don't even know what for.
Yeah.
So they'll go there because they've always gone there. But I think in the last census there's about 50,000 Māori who are followers of the Ratana Church. So basically it's a voting in the but I don't ever vote for what the church say when they decide who their friends are. But and they've got a ongoing relationship with Labour. They always kind of have, but the whole politicians going down there, it's I always find it cool because you get to see it on. It was almost like our little hidden thing, Ratana and the church and so we've got childhood memories of going down there and doing that sort, and then seeing it on like TV. It's like, whoa, shit, it's on TV, and then the brass bands and that. So, it's an interesting part of New Zealand history, actually.
Do you know where the brass band part side of thing comes in? Is that partly to do with the military or nah?
No, I think at the time, brass bands were quite big, especially brass instruments with Maori people are creating their own bands and stuff.
I wonder if that's to do with do you think of Maori instruments being quite woodward?
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
So it's flute, trumpet.
So then, so he's always, not always, but he's, quite often had a band. My siblings and I play in the one out from here, and so basically the main role of the brass or the brass bands was to, because quite often he'd be getting challenged by mainly he'd go into other marae, other areas and that, so it'd be a way of clearing. It was his, almost not his weapon, but his way of clearing out an area before so when you see...
so was he, you think of Gandhi and stuff, was he non-violent in direction?
Yeah. So he was basically, it was like the song, the march, and that was designed to just anything bad, any bad energy, any bad vibe, it's basically destroying it.
Wow.
So, and then that's why when they go to Ratana, the bands always lead everyone on, and you always follow the band on, because what they do is it clears the way for any bad energy or bad vibes or anyone.
Good vibes only.
That's right. Yes, that's right. That's what it is. So basically, that's what you need. So you just get in a brass band and walk around everywhere.
Yeah, hard.
Then you get rid of all the bad vibes.
And then so that's how music developed with you and your brothers?
Yeah, actually, yep. And so all our siblings had to learn brass instruments.
Oh, wow, right.
So we were all members of the, my sisters still are, members of the Mata Mata Brass Band. They just got second in the C grade brass band championships down in Dunedin the other weekend, so congratulations. So we had to, and as kids it's
what did you play?
I played basically it's a baritone, which is hard to explain, but it's almost like a smaller, you hold it like this, it's not like a trumpet or a cornet, it's a bigger instrument.
Is that like a horn one?
Yeah, kind of like a French horn-ish kind of thing, and then trombone. So I think actually when we were younger we were real keen, because we'd go to Ratana and that and see the bands, and we'd walk around our backyard with toilet paper rolls, pretending to play the song. So it's probably when we got into our teenage years where it's like, oh man, this is so shame playing brass band. So all me and my brother wanted to do was play guitar and play drums.
What's up with New Zealand? They said, it's just classic New Zealand shame, and I was like, yeah, New Zealand does have lots of shame.
Yeah, it's like shame. Don't want to be seen. And then we used to do caroling on the back of the truck.
Right, yeah.
And we had to drive around and if you see a hot girl from school, you're like, oh shit.
Or just not like Christmas parade stuff, just going around the streets.
Yeah, we'd done that, but we do every night, because they still do it now, is you drive around and have a big truck and all the bands on the back and just play carols around the streets. It's actually really cool. But when you're a teenager, you're like, oh, I just don't want to be here. But it was a requirement. We had to learn music, play brass band. We weren't allowed to touch a guitar or drums until we could learn how to read music and do all that. So that was a pretty good. It's good though, because if you're playing in an orchestra or in a brass band, you're playing with 30 other people. So it's really great for your ear to see how all the different parts come together, and it's really helped me with my other music. But the moment, and then as soon as we got the all clear, my brother and I picked up guitars and drums and
my younger brother did concert band. He was playing clarinet, and New Queens of the Stone Age album came out the other week. I sort of listened to it in my car, which is like Bluetooth to a bloody radio or frequency thing, and then came back through my car, and I was like, oh, this was live recorded and sounds real shit.
Yeah.
And then my other brothers, my younger one in particular, was like, no, get some good headphones.
Yeah, and
sit there and listen to it. And he's like, all these parts, and I was like, oh yeah. And then now you're saying about being in a big band.
Yeah.
He'll hear all the elements and the dynamics
for your ears,
and stuff.
Especially if you're making music, it gives you a greater understanding of what should fit where, and so.
Yeah, whereas I learned guitar and basically learned by tab. And so it wasn't that good. I did it formally, and we learned music, but we didn't learn very many songs in the space
No.
of like 2 years. And then so it's like, I'll get guitar lessons, and then it's like, oh yeah, how do I play this song?
Yeah.
Here's the tab, and learn it basically, and don't really have any understanding of like,
What that was? What am I playing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas my other mate, he grew up in Ngāzia, and yeah, he can write a song, hear a song, be like, oh well, the structure goes like this, and then he works it out, and I'm like, oh, that's really cool.
Yeah, when I studied music, like there's some actual freaks out there. So actually, I went to talking about musical freaks. So Joel Sherbolt from LAB, we studied at Bay of Plenty Polytech together, but he left school early. I think he might have been 16. He was allowed to leave school early to go do music, and like now he's like predominantly a singer, but man, on the guitar, he's an absolute animal. He's just the type of person, like, we're jamming, as you jam at lunchtime, we have all these different musicians, and he could just jump in and just, you wouldn't tell him what key you're playing or anything, he'd just be able to rip in. He was just like this kid, and you're just like, wow, that's crazy. And he actually played with B.B. King over in America.
Wow.
When he was a real young fella. And like, then he played in just pub bands for years, until he got his shot. So it's so cool seeing him. So from the age of like 16, he was playing in pubs, and then just obviously they're quite recently like made it. Like that's how long, and like what's that? Bloody like 15 years or something.
And it's almost like every album they do like a slightly different genre.
Yeah, and I think that comes from one, because obviously you got one of the quarter guys in there, and they've always kind of been like that. But obviously Joel being like pub bands for years, like you'll be playing quite different stuff. So that's probably some of that coming through.
A quarter, right, isn't it?
I don't think so actually.
I was just thinking about like going back to quarter. Yeah,
maybe.
What about Catch a Fire?
Don't know if they are. Stan Walker is. There you go.
There you go. Yeah. No. So, how did you get music growing up?
Get it as in like consume it.
Yeah.
We started with the tape.
Yeah.
So actually, we've got a lot of our music. Like Mum used to listen to a lot of different stuff. But
did you have records and vinyl in your household?
Yep. So we had the Grease soundtrack. That used to be one of my favorite records. That's such a good movie. What else did you have? She had Bee Gees on vinyl.
Yeah.
Just all those sort of groups, and then Bob Marley on vinyl. I've still got the case somewhere.
Any Pink Floyds or Elton Johns or?
Yeah. Oh, she probably wasn't into Pink Floyd as much. She wasn't really into the rock. Oh, she wasn't eventually, because we were into rock music.
Yeah.
Like my brother and I. But no, like the classic UB. I still remember the UB40 tape in the station wagon. We had this old Sigma. It's only a 3-seater in the back, but we had like 6 kids. So
stack it in. So
me and my brother would always sit in the boot.
Yeah.
And then we went all the way up to Coromandel for Christmas, and I just remember, anywhere we went, just a UB40 tape. Just then you had to stop and flip it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, we broke through Dire Straits. That was busted. We tried to sell tape back together.
Oh no, even sellotape didn't work.
Nah. I think we broke the sellotape.
Yeah, so it was mainly tapes, and then obviously the CD Walkman thing.
Skipping.
Actually, talking about tapes, my sister was into like Nirvana, and I still remember we went up to my nana's house, and we like young kids in the car, and she put it in, and we were listening to it like the whole way there. It's probably highly inappropriate.
Like, with your nana?
No, not with my nana, but just with our whole family. We've kind of been like that. We'd listen to a whole lot of different stuff.
Yeah. I think as youngsters, our first 3 tapes was Savage Garden, Hanson, and Backstreet Boys.
Oh, I was heavy into Backstreet Boys.
Yep.
I rated them. Had the 5 tape. Used to thrash
5 was
that.
good. In my memory of the 5, it was CD. We were at Sausage Sizzle at the warehouse. It was for my brother, so I didn't really have to be there. So I just went inside and was like, "Can I listen to this? Can I listen to this? Can I listen to this?" And yeah, 5. I've actually on our little, playlist for the girls. Move on ups in there. Yeah, keep on moving. It just takes me back. Sausage Sizzle at the warehouse.
5, they were good. What was the first CD I ever got? I got a job in the. I bought 3 CDs. It was a bit of a random mix. It was the Fatboy Slim album,
Ooh.
Prodigy, Fatherland, and Rob Zombie. I don't know.
Did you then delve into drum and bass? I was talking about this.
Yeah, a little bit. Not hard out, but
not hard out. Yeah, I was talking about this with a lady. She's from Wales, and she said, "I used to promote metal bands back in Wales." And I said, "Yeah, like funny thing about metal bands is drum and bass, hey?" And she's like, "Yeah."
Yeah, they kind of.
I was like Pendulum and Shapeshifter before they were drum and bass, they were metal bands.
That's right. They do shift and like work together quite nicely, eh?
It's just that double triple kick.
Double, triple kick. And then, but yeah, probably the album I thrashed the most would be Rage Against the Machine, the self-titled, the first one.
Yeah.
What a fucking album that was. Even yesterday at CrossFit Comp, they had Killing the Name came off when I was doing my skipping. Yeah, I was like, shit, this is
Did it help or get you out of time?
No, it helped.
Yeah.
I looked like a bloody salmon though, but...
Double unders?
Yeah.
They didn't throw triples at you?
No, not yet.
It's just nasty. I saw that in last year. I was just like, oh, now you're just taking the piss.
I know, that's crazy. I'm not... I'm just a battler out here battling out. There's no way I'm doing no triples.
Triple unders, eh? Like, you guys are a joke. Like, yeah, they're crazy. The people that organise CrossFit Games, and then they're like...
The sickos.
They're like, how can we fuck these guys up?
That's basically what they do. But Rage, they were a good band. That's what got me into like hip hop. Now I think about it, because it's a rap and then like the rock stuff together, which ultimately that's my favourite kind of.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because obviously you got the Linkin Parks and the Limp Bizkits and all that sort of thing. They came kind of after them, but yeah, Rage Against the Machine, they're probably my all-time favourite.
Then did you go back in hip hop?
Yeah, so I went back, and then you kind of start listening to one person, then you go further back in time, and then you start to find good rappers. And
did you listen to Ice Cube the other day on Rogan?
Oh, is he got an episode on there?
Yeah, it was just last week or the week before.
Oh, you'll have to go check it out.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting. But then he kind of talked about how he was only with the NWA briefly and then got out of that, and then he was mostly talking about his movie career and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
And he does some 3-on-3 basketball competition or something.
Oh, really? Does he run it or something?
Yeah, he runs it.
Oh.
So it's like, it's loose. Big three or something like that.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. And he gets a lot of the like retiring NBA guys.
That's cool. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ice Cube. But yeah, probably. Yeah, Rage was definitely like kind of. It was at a time like how I would have been about 16.
Yeah.
Like if you click with like a type of music when you're that age, it just kind of can change like, well, not your life, but your musical pathway. Yes. But yeah, that'd be my all-time favorite album. Would be that. Do you have a favorite album of all time? It's a very hard question.
Yeah. Incubus is that age, 15.
Incubus, that's a fucking good band. Actually, I need to write a note.
14 through 15, 16.
I need to write a note to add that shit, because I always kind of forget about bands, and they're like, oh, when someone like, if I randomly, because what did I watch? Oh, that Woodstock doco. And they had Korn, and I was like, I forgot about them. And like,
Korn I was like 12 or so. So like, always used to write my name's Ryan. So write the R backwards.
Write the R backwards, yeah.
But yeah, same with Sublime. That was kind of like, I had to come back to Sublime.
Yeah.
Because again, that was like 12, 13.
Bloody good. Sublime, that was, it's the soundtrack of mine.
My friends that I knew from swimming, they were a little bit older, and he was like a metalhead.
Yeah.
And like, I remember we drove to Gore one day, and we were like, what do you listen to, Ben? And again, cassette tape, chuck the cassette tape. It was just like, I was like, this is actually kind of cool. Yeah, like Metallica albums through that time.
Metallica were good. Their the symphonic orchestra.
Yeah, I was going to say that's what we had. Yeah.
Oh my god, that was like
S&M.
That S&M, fuck, that's a good. That is like, that's beautiful.
Yeah, that was my older brother. Yeah, and then especially like, you know, at home we fried our computer with LimeWire, and then he came back from university. He went to Canterbury University studying engineering, and they had one of the first hubs. Yeah, and he came back with all this music.
How good!
Kings of Leon, he brought that back. Some British bands and stuff like that.
LimeWire shit.
Yeah.
Hang on, no one used the phone. I'm downloading a song overnight. You just get that.
Always like you try to call something. Dan! Oh Jesus! And I think we had like a splitter, because
you have to have a splitter. Yeah,
Dad was involved with rowing, and so like we had a fax through early because he'd get all the minutes and stuff come through, and then he'd have like conference calls and stuff from Invercargill up to the whole country. They'd have their meetings on conference calls and stuff, and then but we were like late to get a good PC and stuff. We had an Acorn for ages, like because Dad was at school. He'd just grab one and be like, "Oh, how do we work this?" Yeah, like I think he said, like he was a maths and physics teacher, and they were like, "Oh, we need someone to do computer science, and so he's like, I don't fucking know.
I don't know. I'll take one home though.
Yeah. So we had this golf game on there. That was pretty sick.
Golf. Just trying to think. What computer game? What was the first computer game I had?
When we got our PC, we had the demo of Doom. Not Doom, of Diablo, sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Diablo 1 demo, so I think there's about 13 levels on there.
Doom. That was a good game.
Yeah, neighbours had that. Jehovah's Witness. And they had Doom, Duke Nukem,
Duke Nukem.
G.I. Joes.
I forgot about that.
G.I. Joes, all the Lego, no Christmas or birthdays, but they had the setup.
They had all the games, all the R18 games. Command and Conquer, actually, that's what I used to love.
Oh yeah, that was a good game. And SimCity.
I wasn't a big Sim fan.
No.
Didn't really do the SimCity. Oh, I done a little bit.
Well, we still had Acorn. We'd be at my auntie and uncles. Yeah. Getting attacked by aliens.
Getting attacked by aliens. StarCraft, that was good when it came out. The OG, because that was Command and Conquer made. Oh no, not Command and Conquer. Warcraft, the original Warcraft, which was that kind of strategy game. Loved that shit. And then they bring out StarCraft, which was that, but in space. And then back then you'd start to do that's when the start of multiplayer online. You could play someone else in a different country at StarCraft. But shit, used to go to my mate. We didn't have a fast enough computer, but my mate had it. Stayed for hours playing that.
Yeah, I think my younger brother, went on and played Diablo 2, maybe even 3.
3.
But that might have been his first year at uni when he decided he didn't want to get into medicine. He's like, oh, well, I'll just play Diablo 3.
Play Diablo 3 the whole time, but I'll still get my student allowance. No.
Yeah. He was in the worst hall too.
Yeah.
He chose the hall that'll help him get into medicine. Nah.
Wrong.
Just sit there, no social life. Yeah.
So you're talking about music at that CrossFit comp yesterday. When they walked out, the DJ played John Cena's theme music.
Did you see him following everyone on Threads?
No.
Oh, he's followed NRL. He's followed all the NRL teams.
Random.
Yeah, and they're like, but you can't see me.
You can't see me, yeah.
It was Roosters and
you can't see me.
And Storm. And
we can't see you, John.
There was some good banter going on. I don't know why he decided to follow the Australian NRL teams. Maybe he's into it.
Maybe he is.
Yeah.
But I couldn't help myself, So I was walking,
Do.
Were you into wrestling?
Through the Rock.
Yeah. Oh, yes,
and
yes.
Undertaker Kane. Again,
Kane.
These friends that were a little bit older, we probably watched a lot of stuff at their house that we shouldn't have, and listened to a lot of stuff that we shouldn't have.
I was into I think we watched more the WCW stuff.
Yeah.
So you had NWO.
WWF, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. And you had the two.
So you're Hulk Hogan and that sort of jazz.
Yeah. So that was right in the heat of WCW versus WWF. That whole.
Yeah. Who was the guy that ended up marrying Vince McMahon's daughter? Triple H. Yeah. There's a lot of suck it going on.
Suck it.
That's still happening.
The Generation X.
Yeah, that's still happening in the Blue. Someone from the Blues did that this year.
Yeah. Try July. Jeez, that's a throwback, the old Generation X. Jeez.
Yeah.
Wrestling.
Off the top ropes.
Yeah. It's so funny. We'd my brothers and I would just believe it was so real.
Yep.
And my older sister, she was like, you guys are so stupid. That's the fakest shit I've ever seen. So there's no way he could jump off that, do this, and then that be fake.
Well, especially WWE having cage matches. So that was The Rock, Shamrock, Kane, and The Undertaker. And just I think the best one we watched was when The Undertaker saved Kane or vice versa.
Yes, I do remember that one. Yeah.
They got into the cage and got them out.
That's right, got them out, yeah.
The Rock's there
It's theatre, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
It's actually quite hard to watch now, isn't it? As an adult, I try to have watched some of it. But
what age are you going to show your kids?
Hey?
What age are you going to show your kids?
Oh, I don't know. Wrestling, oh, man. Goldberg.
Yeah.
He was the man.
In The Mask or something like that. I can't remember what his name was.
Yeah, Goldberg. Probably Goldberg and Sting, and then Hulk Hogan. Sting was cool. He came down from the rafters with the bat, and it'll black out. That was me. It'll black out, and everyone, oh shit! And then the lights come back on, and he's just got the bat pointed at the person's face. Classic.
Before that, did you do Gladiators?
I like the show.
Mm.
Yeah, actually, I do remember a bit of it. Not hard out, but.
So our primary school had a confidence course in it. So he had and also there used to be, I think they brought it back for a while. There it was all the regions would go to one of the army camps and do this mean-as confidence course. They had watery mud and stuff like that. But yeah, we had a confidence course at our school.
Everyone would be doing gladiators.
And so we're doing gladiators on it. And of course, but then you've got like 3 rails and then if you get pushed the wrong way, you fall over and someone whacks your head on the other rail. That wasn't good. Yeah, and of course you're falling on bark chips, not bloody
rubber mats. Not the rubber mats they have these days.
Yeah.
The old bark chips. Yeah, sure, that's going to save someone's bloody life, isn't it?
Yeah. Do you go to trampoline lands and stuff?
I am. I've got a funny story about that. I've got a bit of phobia these days because I went to one.
And you KO'd a kid. I did that last time.
Not a kid. I actually smoked myself. So
I
was jumping. I'm not the most coordinated person, so I was jumping between tramps. And there's one up on the wall, like on the angle.
Yeah.
And I bounced off that. Bounced again, and then kind of misbounced. And then like you're up in the air, and I'm like, I'm going to land right in the middle. And it's got pads there, so I'm thinking I'm sweet. But I just fully done a manu. I'm like on it, but it's like paper thin.
Yeah.
And just like
quite firm.
Yeah, winded me through my like tailbone. Like,
oh, have you broken your tailbone?
Didn't break it. I felt like
broke it?
No, but it felt like I did. It knocked the wind out of me, and I was in the fetal position, and everyone was taking videos and whatnot.
No good. Yeah, I've broken my tailbone at least twice.
Oof.
Yeah, because I know that I've broken it at least twice because I've broken it as an adult at Snow Planet. And then before that, I'd already had an x-ray of my coccyx and it was on a lean, and I was like, oh, that's good. So hopefully I broke it back the other way.
Might have put it back in the right space.
Nah, because I then had to have another x-ray before I had my hip surgery, and it was still broken. I was like, damn.
So it will just stay broken forever.
I think so. Do you know who Morgan Penn is? The trainee sexologist?
Yes, actually. Yep.
Yeah, she reckons she can straighten it. I don't really want to do that.
Straighten it?
Yeah, she said, I can fix that. I was like, yeah, I'd rather not, thanks.
That sounds interesting.
Takes more than one treatment, I heard. I'm fine, thanks, Morgan. Yeah. So then why did you go follow music? Like,
I don't know, I just loved it.
Yeah. And then,
to me.
How do you end up making kayaks, selling kayaks?
How did I do that? Yeah. So rewind. Yeah. So actually, I painted cars for quite a few years. Then I was like, I really want to do the music thing. Mm-hmm. So then I studied music over in Tauranga. And then,
what's that decision like? You getting paid, and then you're like, nah, I'm going to go study. Was it just nothing to lose at that stage?
Well, not really. It was just me, you know.
You don't know.
I was painting cars. It was okay, but you know, music was something. Because doing rock bands at high school and all that, like music was I kind of wished at the time I'd just gone straight into it.
Mm.
So sold everything and went back into that. It wasn't that scary because my sister she was a year in front of me at this music course, and that's when I was like, yeah, I want to do that. Like I'd see that she's just jamming every lunchtime, and they're like recording music. And
when you say sold everything, did you need to get your own gear?
Sold everything. I meant just the car I had at the time.
Okay. Yeah.
I didn't really have much shit.
Yeah.
And then it was pretty easy actually, and I needed a job in between. So in the holidays of like tech, I was working. It's my ex-girlfriend's uncle. I started biking kayaks, and I already had that kind of relationship with him. And then I done a bit after school, like when I was a kid, like in school holidays with him for the kayaks. And he said, that's right, I was pumping gas in the holidays. And he's like, oh, do you want to just come work for me in the holidays? And yeah, sweet. So I started working for him in the holidays. And then he's like, my study finished, and he's like, what are you going to do? I was thinking, I should probably move to Auckland and do something with music. And then I didn't really want to go to Auckland. I'm a small town guy, and I kind of like that. So I ended up working for him full time, and then just doing my music on the side, and just using that money to kind of buy gear and all that sort of thing. And ended up doing it for like 10 years before getting our own business. But
and so what did you do with the music?
So it was a bit of a tangent. So whilst I was working, my brother and my friend, we had a group called Decors. It was like a hip hop trio. And we'd just make songs in the shed, and it was just basically a lot of fun, really.
Yeah.
And then, like I was telling you earlier, we ended up making a rap song about horse racing, which is pretty weird, but I think that's kind of why it worked, which you can find on Spotify. It's called Bred to Win.
Bred to Win.
Yeah, so we done that as almost like a bit of a piss take. And then, all the horsey people, and because we're in Matamata, like a lot of horse trainers and that, got him behind it, and then kind of went around, and then we'd done the rounds in Aussie as well, the song. So that kind of catapulted us into like some sort of limelight, a weird like you go to the races and everyone knew who we were, and it was.
Did that motivate you to go to the races more? Like,
It definitely got us more into it.
Yeah.
But we were already into it, so it's just and it's just trippy because you'd go and because a lot of older people are into horse racing.
Yeah.
But we go to the races and a lot of older people come. Oh, we love your song. It's like, but it's like a rap song. But it's like, they don't listen.
It's relatable.
They don't listen to hip hop at all. And they're like, oh, we love that song. We listen to it all the time. It's like, so it was a weird little cool little thing we had going on. Yeah, and then so from that, and then off the side of that, Alex Bradley, who used to play for the Chiefs, the original Fitzone owner was his wife. And my brother used to work there as a personal trainer, and he goes to us one day, he's like, oh, you boys, because he was playing for the Chiefs at the time, because you boys should make a song for the Chiefs. We're like, oh yeah, same formula, so I made a beat, and the boys, we made up the song about the Chiefs, and then he took it on a CD to training. He showed like Liam Neeson.
I was going to say, it would be Liam Neeson would have been the leader of Good Times.
Yeah, and then it was Sonny Bill Williams. It was when they were going for the three-peat, right?
Yeah.
So
it's your fault.
Oh no, it was the year before. Sorry, It's when they won.
It's when they won.
Good. It was definitely when they won. And like we made this shitty ass video on YouTube. You can find it on YouTube. What was the Chiefs one called? Oh, I've forgotten what the name of the song is. It's on YouTube. Just go find the cause DAKAUSE for a laugh. We just made it in our shed. Had the Chiefs shoes on, throwing the ball around, and then the next morning after the training. On Twitter, Sonny Bill Williams and like Liam Neeson had shared it.
Yeah.
Like the YouTube video of this shitty YouTube clip we made. So, cleaners.
Killed it.
Sorry, guys. Probably expecting no one here on a Saturday. And then they'd shared it, and it got like 10,000 views on YouTube overnight. And then, so that was awesome. And then we done that, and then from that, the Breakers approached us to make a song for them. So we got on this mad tangent.
You just hype me.
Yeah, we just got on this mad tangent, and then they're like, "Sweet." So then they didn't really pay us, but it was like it was a win-win for everyone. So we're like, "Yeah, fuck you, we'll make you a song." And then they got us all the kit in that. They were getting us to go up to games, and then with their final, I think the semi-final at Victor Arena, I think it was called then. Was it called that now? Whatever it was called, it was sold out. But we performed that song at the start of the game.
This is awesome.
Yeah, so
I did not know this.
Yeah, so it was such a
mad little... bit of research. Jesus.
Yeah, it was, we done that. But the funny thing was, like, before the game, we went in to do our sound check at about lunchtime. And do you remember Jay Williams, the singer?
Yeah.
Sonny Bill Williams' cousin, who wasn't?
Was he actually?
Yeah, he was Sonny Bill Williams' cousin, yeah.
That's awesome.
He was performing at halftime.
Yeah.
So we get there.
So You Got Me, eh? Is that a song?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. And so that's all good.
Song, actually.
Oh, yeah, turn up, waiting. But he was like practicing.
Did he have Dan Rumble in that song too?
Was it in that one? They did have a song together.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they basically just used all our sound check time. And then we're like, oh. And the sound engineer's like, oh, you're just going to have to figure it out because we've got no more time.
What do you mean by that? How do you figure out sound?
I don't know. That's how we're like, what the fuck? But then Jay Williams was like,
sorry, guys.
Yeah, he was actually I don't know if he's probably not listening anyway, but he was a dick.
Jesus, Jay.
He was a dick, okay? Just took all our sound check time, but no, that was awesome. We played to a sold out arena. It was, it was so cool. And then we hung out with the team over at Sky City where they had the aftermatch thing, and then the huddle before they played. We were in hands in.
Oh yes.
Breakers on 3. And we were in that too. That's like. That's on.
Was it Perry Cameron days?
No, he wasn't in there. So that was near the end of Dylan Boucher's kind of tenure.
Thomas Abercrombie.
Abercrombie was in there. Vuna. Who else was in there? Yeah, good team. Obviously, mean team because they won.
Yeah.
I think that's when they got the 3-peat. So we had this theory, when we made a team a song, they'd win the whole thing. So we're 2 for 2, and obviously I'm more of a League fan and Warriors fan, and people will say, why don't you make a Warriors one? We're 2, want to keep the run.
We're 2 for 2. This year you've made a song, is that what you're trying to tell me?
No.
And I see a Roosters hat in that bin, so...
Oh, that's Sam's. That's Sam's.
Good on you, Sam. Yeah.
No.
It's not been a very good year, Sam.
That's good, actually. I'll be able to get stuck into him. But now he's like a Warriors fan. It's like, oh, okay.
But is he just like supporting the guys? But like when it comes down to it, Roosters play Warriors.
He'll go Roosters, yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, I can't lose today. Haha.
Oh, did he pull that one?
Yeah.
No, I'd just go straight up. Like,
you have to be, yeah, anyway.
Yeah. My exemption is that I support Southland and the Highlanders, so don't need the journey and the ups and downs and the disappointment of the Warriors. Thanks very much.
Yeah.
And plus, I'm not a league fan.
Well, there you go.
I'm a supporter.
You're a supporter.
Yeah.
A follower.
Follower-ish. Yeah.
Nice, but yeah, we haven't made I think we've made plans to.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys, the cleaner's just turned up on a Saturday hour.
It's good. So then you sell kayaks.
So then, yeah, I was essentially just running the factory part of it. We've done it for about 10 years, and then wanted to do my own business. So left there and bought Fitzone gyms, basically, or the first one. You
said your brother was a PT. Were you?
No. I'd just go. So the other bit is my wife was running. What's it called? Club Aqua with the gym at the Te Rapa pools.
Right.
And she was travelling over there to run it, and it was council run. And they said, look, you can run it. You can do whatever you want. You can do all the cool shit you want to do. But it was council, so they kept saying no to all their ideas.
The story's consistent across a lot of things. I was talking to a physio the other day. Same yarn.
Yeah, and so they're like, she's like, oh fuck this, and then she was travelling, so I was like, oh, I should just ask Nicole whether she wants to sell Fitzone, because I go there, I'd train there like myself. And my brother was working there, but I just noticed there's so much you can do with the business to improve, or to make it, to improve it. So I asked her, and she said yes, she would, which was random, and then we bought it, and then she started working that, and then I was still at Viking and kind of doing 2 days at the gym, and then 3 days at my day job. And then, just fully changed over, and then just put the foot down a bit. So,
and now you got 4.
Got 4, yes. Matamata, Te Aroha, Paeroa, and Waihi.
Paeroa. When I was listening to the next advisory the other day, I thought you said Wairoa. I was like, man, that's a long way to go.
Yeah.
Paeroa.
That's not really in the loop, is it?
No.
Paeroa, yeah, the LMP bottle.
Yeah.
But that's all on a nice line, so we can go from here to Waihi, and you can stop into all the gyms.
I nearly looked at optometry practices in that.
Oh yeah,
that realm. Yeah, Te Aroha, Waihi, Paeroa, and Whakamata.
Oh yeah. Cool little communities. We focus on rural communities because they often are forgotten about, and they don't really get the service that we feel they deserve. Sorry, mate. Here? No, you're sweet.
He's keen.
He's very keen. We just got them on. Not a great start now. Don't know if that contract's all good.
Yeah. So what is like anyone else, isn't it? Like where do I start when I turn it into a gym?
Yeah. So
instead of the key cut, here's how you start.
That's right. So you want me to answer that question?
Yeah.
It's just different for so many people. I think quite often people are motivated when they start.
Yeah.
So the big thing with gyms is retention, and just the amount of people who sign up and then don't use it that often, or just don't use it. People always go, "Oh, you're cracking it. That's great," but it's like actually not, because like why we got into it is to like have positive influence on people's lives. So it's like those hurt because you want them to like, want them to pay for it, use it, and then like change their life in a good way. So.
So is that kind of like the balance between like why you're in business, and you're in business to like make it functional, make it run and have a good lifestyle. Yeah. But then like why are you in this business is because we want to change lives and influence
because
people.
My wife and I, it's a massive part of our lifestyle. Like never had the greatest rig out, but it's always been part of my life. Not always, but for the last 25 years, it's always been part of my day, like working out. And same for her. So we were passionate about that. It's like it's such a great thing to do, like daily, like mentally, physically, just everything. So, so it's kind of pairing that kind of a passion we had with a business, and obviously it has to be functional, have to make some money, which isn't always easy. But the lifestyle and that's great. It's a great industry to be in. It's a hard one at times, but
people just need to go listen to that next advisory podcast to go know when it's not easy. Fuck, what a story.
It's that was
post COVID.
That was tricky.
Looking at your cash flow, going shit.
Yeah, it's like what's the opposite of cash flow? No flow. There was no flow.
Yeah.
Well, so happens when you try and open a fourth gym in the middle of a pandemic.
It was brave.
Yeah, yep. Some people call it that.
Would you do it again? No choice, eh?
Yeah. Just if the opportunity was there, I guess.
Yeah.
I guess we didn't see that coming, obviously. So it was all fine and honky dory, and then it kind of became not.
Yeah.
And then you just got to figure it out. But you would do it again if there's the right communities there. And
yeah. So you said like you looked at the country and there's sort of 10% of people not vaccinated, but in your gyms it was more like 15.
Yeah. I think that was more the case in the smaller towns too. Like, small people didn't really give a shit, so they just didn't.
What was the unraveling of that?
I don't know.
How long did it take?
For everyone to come back.
Yeah.
It did take it was a bit of a took a bit of time.
It was kind of like March, eh? Was it between August and March?
Yeah, I think
around that, eh?
Yeah.
I know that second lockdown was August.
We opened in October.
Okay.
We were shut down in September, but Auckland was a bit. But yeah, it took a while, and to have those mandates were crippling, bro. Like I still remember when she finally said. I still remember that announcement. I was driving to Te Aroha.
Yeah.
And I said when she first started, I was like, "Sweet," pulled over because I was listening to it.
I had the mandate announcement.
Yeah. And it took fucking for ages.
Yeah.
I'm like, I just need to know, are you going to lift the bloody mandates? And then it took ages and ages. She finally said it. Had a wee tear in my eye. It was just like, oh my God, it was just, because of the position we were in, that was just crippling. Like, it sounds like not much, but when you got 15% of your people that are not having to pay, like 15% of your revenue's gone and you've just set up another one, that it doesn't have many people in it yet, and you're trying to grow that, so you're using all the money from everything, like what little money you have left it. She took an age to get to the announcement. She didn't mind that, She didn't mind dragging out, because what she did, she actually gave the history of the pandemic.
Well, that was the same in August when it was like, oh yeah, by the way, I was like sitting in the supermarket car park listening to it, and I think I was finished work at 5, and so then I was sitting there in the car park, and then I think I went into the supermarket at 5:45. By the time I got to the checkout, the whole place was packed. I was like, oh God.
Oh no, yeah. She loves to. Yeah, I think on that announcement, she actually went through the whole history of the pandemic, and she was explaining how good they'd done. All which is politic. You got to do your politicking. It's fine. But I was just like, just tell me what you're doing.
Appease my concerns.
Yeah. So that was an interesting time. I mean, we learned a lot from that period. Like, well, you need to take something out of it. Otherwise, what's the point of you don't want to keep making the same mistakes anyway. But you would do it again. It just has the right opportunity has to come up, the right building. It's quite often in the small towns it's getting the right building. Is there enough people in that town to actually make it work? Yeah, so there's a few things that need to line up, but
yeah. So with this building, you were talking to Luke about how you were going somewhere else, and then you thought somebody else was there.
Yes,
and then you got talking to
building. Yeah,
and then you got talking to the guy from J Swaps. So is that kind of what Mandaba was like?
Yeah.
Let's go talk to the swaps. Like, what's the go?
Oh yeah, if you know, it's basically like, well, the J Swaps, they basically sponsor every single thing in town.
Yeah,
it's a massive corporation, but they're just really good people too. Like, so they help out other businesses quite a bit. And then he was a member. One of the swap sons is a member here, Steve. And that was interesting. Like, we got kicked out of it because we were in a council-owned building, and they were ripping it down, but it's still up now. But we got kicked out of there, and there was nowhere to go.
There's no one in there, though, right?
Nah, it's just sitting empty. Which don't want. Anyway, that does my head in as well. So we found this place. Oh no, this place wasn't available. We're just looking at scraps, bits and pieces. There's nowhere to go. And then I'd gone out to an industrial area to look at one building.
Is Alex still around?
Who, sorry?
Alex Bradley's still around?
Yeah, no, he's still around. He's still coaching. Oh, no, not playing. Oh, is he playing?
Probably.
No, I don't think he is. But yeah, but we moved into this building before the lockdown.
Yeah.
So it cost a bit of money to move. Got this place fitted out, moved it all over, and then it was going great because there's interest. Done a few promos to get everything rocking again. It was good. So 2 weeks into that, and then boom, you have to shut.
Mm.
And that hurt. That hurt. Because we'd kind of committed to moving here, and then we committed to doing Waihi after we'd done this.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, ouch. And
Still,
that sucked too.
That was your first little stub toe.
Yeah, and that sucked too because I wanted to like use it because like we just set it up. It was nice and new, and I was like, I may have still used it. Wasn't supposed to, but essential work. I'd come and do essential work. Cowed. Because by that time, like we had the stuff at home, but the second time around, I was like, man, I don't want to do that. So I'd just drive in at 5 a.m. and be like, little workout.
Security.
Yeah, we're just checking the place out, just making sure the stuff works.
Yeah. It's still working.
Yeah.
Doesn't need some maintenance.
Yep. Actually, I just seen a machine I need to fix too when I came in this afternoon. But anyway, that's not what we're talking about.
Yeah. So, like you say, you're in a small regional area. How do you sort of go about promoting it? Like, it must be like the world's your oyster. Like, Instagram. Like,
yeah.
Oh shit! I keep seeing Fitzone ads.
Yeah, that's right. There you go. Yeah, it is a bit interesting because, especially it's mad how much it's changed in like probably the last 6 years. But like
in terms of marketing,
like you had to like, especially in a smaller town, you still had to do like the paper and do all that sort of stuff because, us like country folk were a bit behind times sometimes. But now, it's a lot more Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, just on that. It's just obviously it's just way better because you can see like, did that work or not? Paper ad. You're just throwing it out to the world and hoping someone sees it, and you can't really track any, and they're expensive. Same with radio. Radio ads are like, but yeah, with Instagram that you can like fully see the metrics. Like, MediaWorks. We don't do that.
Yeah.
We actually got free because we won the business awards last year.
And so is that ad going like the whole? So you guys in Te Rapa, is that going the whole Waikato? Or?
Yeah, it was when we got because it was free. So
yeah.
But
get it out there.
So we thought, we'll use it. But I think we done like a say you've heard the ad and you get something from I think that was my concoction because I was like, I want to see if it actually works.
Yeah.
And no one said.
Oh wow.
Not one person. So then the lady's like, oh, do you want to do more advertising? And I was like, no.
I've actually done some market research on this thing.
Yeah, and I was like,
it don't work.
It didn't really work.
I wonder what that says, eh?
It's expensive, man. I don't know. Maybe it just was the ad wasn't good enough.
Yeah. Because you'll have a pretty diverse and deep demographic here, right?
Yeah, so the thing with being in the small towns is you kind of got...
Still got people listening to the radio.
Yeah, but you can't really... it's hard because you can't really focus on like... It's be very hard to do just like... I think Tukurua is probably big enough to like... You can do like a CrossFit box and but here it's kind of harder... Like there's not enough people to sustain like a specialised, so you kind of need to do a little bit of everything.
We've got a gym for everything. We've got
you guys do.
We've got a Butterbean now as well.
Yeah, I see that.
Yeah, we've got Gym 56. We've got
Tukurua as well taken care
Muscle
of.
and Curves. Our gym now.
That's right. Yeah. Don't worry, I've seen them all because like we're always having a look just to see like which town is like
What's Potato doing?
They've got a couple gyms now. So there was that one lady running one. I was doing a little bit of like coaching, mentoring with her. Then she sold it to someone else, and then now someone else set up next to. Then she set it one back up again. So yeah, it's a bit of a
push and pull.
It's a no.
Yeah.
We were looking at there, but yeah, it's all a bit messy. It's a bit hard too, like because you're in smaller towns. Like there's already two there. It's like like we could go in there and maybe own it because they might not be operated that well, but they're still going to take they're still going to take some people. So yeah.
It must be Goodwill must be interesting in the gym world.
Goodwill, yeah, yeah. There's a few. Yes, there's some crazy people out there. It's funny how people will tie in their like feelings into like their let's say like what they value their business at. Like when we've looked at gyms, like you go there and you're okay, dirty as, crap as machinery. It's fully open. There's no one here though. Like just hello, no one working, and like we've had people say, "Oh, I want $300,000 for this gym," and it's just like, "Sorry, where do you get that value from?" And I'm like, "Well, we've just worked at it for years."
Yeah, we've had this place running for 20 years.
Yeah, it's like,
what do you mean by running?
No thanks. I might just set up over there, start again. But no, it's trickier in smaller towns. Like it's probably. we're not going to be like billionaires, I don't think. If we're in it just to make heaps of money, we'd probably be going to the cities, but cities have got heaps of gyms that are taken care of.
You could, nationwide.
Yeah, so the plan is to kind of get...
Ashburton, Winton.
Yeah, we've looked at all those sort of places, so I've just...
Amaru.
What did I put in? I just looked at all the populations of towns.
Kaikoura.
And it had to be above...
Dannyverk.
Yeah, Dannyverk.
Apukaro.
All sorts. There was all sorts, but...
Taihape.
We're trying to move more into the digital space because obviously it's a bit easier to kind of help more people. So just with our app and that, so doing a lot more online stuff.
So like, when I was coming in here, I was asking about the MyZone stuff. Like,
yeah,
is that part of like retention and things like that? Like,
oh, yeah, it's massive. It's like
buy-in, eh?
Yeah, what do they call it?
Gamifying
or gamification.
You guys are now linking up with people in Todo.
Yeah, it's cool. It's actually a really awesome
having
system.
fights with your wife.
Oh yeah, can't believe she beat me. But I beat her the first time.
Right.
So we're one for one.
1-1. Are you still battling Tauranga at the moment?
Yes, we're still well in front of Belt Fitness. They were at the CrossFit Comp yesterday. But yeah, it's just a fun. MyZone tools are great. Like I said, it's just really motivating for some people. Like they want the leaderboards up there and they just, like, I'll come in and I'm like, someone kicked me off. Like you have to be like top 10 to be on the board, right?
Right.
And then you get, I think the other week I was like 10th. I was like, yes. Because they're like, there's some crazy people who've got it, so I'm just not even close to it. But I like to be up there, and then someone kicks you off, it makes you fuck.
Are there a few people that work together as well? The MyZone's going around the water cooler, you reckon?
Maybe.
What's your MyZone today?
Yeah. So, but no, it's a great tool.
Can it go on your bicep too, or just around your waist?
Just around your waist, but you can get the watch, wristwatch, which you would have seen on MatchFit, the rugby one. I think they had the wristwatch. But yeah, we use that. That's a great tool. We've got the Evolt body scanner as well. It's a great tool.
How many do you reckon you need to get to really have a good understanding of where you're at? Because it's a good tracker, right?
Yeah, so we suggest like monthly is a good little way of. So one of our memberships, and you just get it like a scan every month, and it's just great to see like what works, what doesn't.
Because what's the limitations on it? Like hydration fluctuates a little bit, eh?
Yeah. There's a few things. So the main thing is like your conditions. Whatever you do the first time, you have to do that. It's best to do it every time. So if you do it at 5 a.m,
okay, yeah,
you're now doing it at 5 a.m. every month. So can't do exercise beforehand because that fully like it just turns you into the Rock on paper, like because it's, I don't know, but you're not allowed to exert yourself beforehand. No caffeine beforehand. But your conditions just have to be the same. It's great if you want to try different. I've tried a few different diets just to see what it'll do. So I've done the carnivore one for like a month.
How'd that go for you?
It's like on the scan, it was brilliant because obviously you're just eating protein the whole time.
Yeah.
But it was, like, I wasn't going to do that for the rest of my life, so it was just more of a trial.
Yeah.
Just
did you get the shits? No shits.
I don't. It actually was fine. I was just sick of eating meat all the time.
Yeah.
By the end, I just was sick of it. Like,
and how much were you eating? Were you going to 1 meal a day or 2 or 3 meals?
3 meals.
Yeah.
And it was all meat. Every snack was like meat. And it was just like, yeah, I was done. But it was really good. Like you try not to do. Well, I only try and do things that I'm going to add to my lifestyle for the rest. Like I can maintain for a very long time. But what I did learn is like it's actually okay to have just meat for dinner sometimes. So I do that quite a bit now. Like I'll just have steak for dinner and that's it. And it's actually quite interesting how much other crap you put in and around a steak when you have dinner. But when you simplify and just have steak, it's actually really filling, eh?
Yeah.
So, and I'm a bit lazy too sometimes, so just
mate, when I was at home by myself, I'd just be like pork chop, couple of lamb chops. Yeah,
it does work.
I throw in the mixed veg every now and again, just to be token. Yeah,
just to put a colour on there of some kind. But you've got the scanner, so it's great, and then we've got our app, which has like full workout programs, nutrition program, and all that in it. So that's a big part of what we try to bring to the smaller communities because they don't get that traditionally. So just about bringing all these tools and having multiple means it's a bit easier you can leverage that to get these tools. And so with the scanner, like it spends a week at each gym and just rotates. So it's not just sitting in one gym. Like, it's just obviously leverages all four, so you get your return on your investment a lot quicker than having it sitting just in one gym.
So then how do you do your podcast? You obviously review the round.
Yeah, so...
How much league do you watch?
It's sometimes it's a lot. Sometimes I feel like the podcast is like, you know how sometimes it turns into like a job.
Oh, my missus asked me yesterday or the day before, do you ever think about quitting your podcast? I'm like, yep.
It's a lot of work. Sometimes I'm like, well,
Did you see Luke's answer to I want to start a podcast the other day?
Oh yeah, it's a cracker one. Yeah. I seen this meme about how do you know someone is middle-aged, something about middle-aged guys and like podcasts and like how many of them have like started a podcast. That's pretty cracker. There's a lot out there.
Yeah.
But you have to. What episode are you up to now, mate? Anyway, you got 300.
This will be 297 or 6.
Sure, there's some good Mahi.
Yeah.
But watch a lot of league. I always was anyway. But yeah, for the potty, you have to watch a lot. But the pretense behind doing the podcast was just to focus on Kiwi players playing the NRL, because I would consume a lot of the like Bloke in a Bar and all those style, because I love league. So I'd be listening. But it's all like really, I can only hear about Nathan Cleary so many times. I can only hear about Cameron Munster so many times. But I'm like, then they just breeze past like Kiwi players quite often.
Yeah, Cheese is Kiwi. Yeah.
Yeah, they do love but there's like so many other players, so it's like, so I mean, one day I was complaining about it, and then even the wife doesn't remember. She goes, "I want you to just do your own one because you got all the stuff." And I was like, "Oh yeah, actually I will." And it was just mainly so I could listen to it, and I'll talk about it. But then got more into like how like the Kiwis are pretty much almost a forgotten team in New Zealand in a way, because. Just how rugby league works internationally is shocking. And also
NRL's always focusing on Origin.
Yeah, Origin's there. Mm-hmm. Their pride and joy. So it's just about getting acknowledgement. And like New Zealand Rugby League they've got a lot better with content now, but they just wouldn't. There was nothing. There was just it'd be blackout, and then they randomly have a test, and then here they are. They're back again. We're back. It's like, and people are like, who is this team?
By the way, there's rugby league and. We've picked all these people. Like, who the fuck are they?
Who's this guy?
All I know is the Warriors.
That's right. They're like,
Well, I drove past Joseph Manu's effigy every day, but
yeah, that's right. You would. Actually, some bloody good league players come out of Tokoro and rugby players. So I was just trying to put the Kiwi players front and centre, and then get people talking about it. And so we actually ended up having a meeting with New Zealand Rugby League at the end of last year, just around a pod, but they ended up doing their own podcast. But they were looking at trying to be more proactive and like keeping the Kiwis and the Kiwi fans after the World Cup in people's face and like eyes, and reminding people they're there. The hard thing is NRL took away that international window in the middle of the year, and then the thing is they just got to do whatever the NRL says, because they have signed off on all tests because they're employees almost, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I know the NRL, the New Zealand Rugby League were pretty pissed when they took that calendar, because it's another not chance to see them.
Did you see Sins talking? Who's the guy that used to commentate for the Warriors? Aussie fella. Anyway, he was talking about how like
is it Costigan, Jason Costo or Vossi?
Voss.
Yeah.
Sins was talking to Vossi, and he'd mentioned how like because of the Dolphins having so many Kiwi teams, he was like, New Zealand needs another Kiwi team. And I'm like, well, that would be interesting. It might like ruin them both, but
yeah. I mean, here's a point.
Then where did he go? Wellington, Christchurch, or Waikato? But then you like stacking the top of the north.
I'd assume it'd be Christchurch is actually a very strong league community down there. My bet would be Christchurch, but I think there's probably more noise about Wellington then.
But then again, they're getting a new stadium, so
that's right. So that
Crusaders currently play at Rugby League Park.
You're welcome. No, they've done it up, but so. New Zealand Rugby League, I think they're trying, but they're unlimited. They got real limited budget as well. So, obviously, when you're not playing, you're not making money as well. So it's like there's obviously a lot to juggle there. So I just wanted to consistently make a podcast about Kiwi players playing in the NRL.
Does ARL own the NRL or no?
I don't think so.
So how do they make money? Just again, the sponsorship funnel.
I think so. Are they owned? I think they might be part of the board of the NRL, if you know what I mean. I could probably double check that, actually. I'm not 100% sure. But the NRL don't bow down to no one, basically, which is annoying. They just
NRL owns Origin.
Yep, NRL owns Origin. So I don't know if you've seen my reel from the other week, but I had a bit of a cry on the podcast about because I want to bring State of O to New Zealand, which is a pretense, as a just an idea that's pretty cool. Like, it's a good event to have in New Zealand.
But where does all the money go?
but then all these Aussies and that were framing it like, oh, the Warriors are so good, they played away for so long, New Zealand Rugby League, blah blah. We'll do them this favour, and they can have an origin, and then everyone's, yay, and I'm like, what? How is that helping us?
Yeah.
How's that helping? And I was like, how you could help us, eh? It's like, let us play fucking tests. Like, so what I want to see is like that. There's a 4 week or 3 week gap in the calendar. They don't play NRL.
Mm-hmm.
You have your origin in that time, because NRL in between origin is a bit watered down, and like it's just shitty. So
it's like all the Warriors fans are like, yeah, we're on a run, and then it comes back and they're like, shit, we're losing again.
Yeah. So just get rid of that. Like, no NRL in that time.
Having mates that are diehard Warriors fans, are like, they're always as Originians. They're like, oh gosh, are we still gonna be all right? This year they have been, so it's been
That's right. Yeah. So so you just play Origin in those Wednesdays, and then the weekends, every other nation can play each other.
Yeah.
Like, you can go play Origin and stuff. That's cool, and then everyone else can play their international tests.
And what, the Poms are just out of season, eh?
Yeah, I think they play the Super League runs at the same time as NRL, so it might be a bit tricky for them.
So is there no, there's not currently a 4 week gap.
No, but that's what they should do. That's what I'm saying. Like, just stop, like, have Origin and on the Wednesdays like they do, but no, because they have a week off in between Origin and they have NRL still. Just have 3 weeks straight with Wednesdays of Origin. Then the Origin camps can just stay in camp and do their thing. And then in the weekends, like, Tonga can play New Zealand and Samoa can play Fiji, and we can all play each other for those 3 to 4 weeks. Seems pretty simple to me.
Yeah, it's like an Australian camp, which is Origin.
Yeah, so that means, it's like, obviously Australia won't be playing a test, but they don't really seem to give a shit. So they can play their Origin thing, and then the rest of the world can play it. But the main issue was last year is some of those Tongan boys were turning down New South Wales to play for Tonga. And then all of a sudden, the tests are gone in the middle of the year. What happened there? It's like, because they don't want them to start doing that to Origin, because they want Origin to be their thing. So, but
then they become Australians, right?
No, because in
rugby league you're allowed to play. Yeah. Unless
you're a Kiwi, you can't. So if you're if you plead to play for New Zealand, you cannot play Origin. But if you plead for a tier 2 nation, so this is the other thing. So if you're like let's say you're from Auckland, you're like half Samoan, half Maori, and you've moved over to Aussie at the age of 13 to play footy over there, but you play for in Queensland, that means you are. So technically, if you said, no, I want to play for New Zealand, you cannot play Origin. You cannot play. You're basically stuck. But there's the other option would be, well, he can play for Samoa, and then also play for Queensland, and then possibly still play for Australia. So the way it kind of works is even at the end, Australia could still get them to play for them. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so why would someone? It's fully geared. Like, it's very. So now New Zealand is trying to. That's the other part with the Kiwis team. Is they're trying to get players to like pick and stick to play for New Zealand, but it's very hard when you're not allowed to play Origin. So, like, the likes of Callum Ponga, right? So he can't play for New Zealand, but he was in the Kiwis training camp a couple times. Like, he was almost there, but then I think the Origin twisted him to like play, to not go play pledge for New Zealand. So I think they need to like, some people are off it, but I think international just needs to be obviously different to Origin. But even so, it's not real Origin. Well, it's not even real anymore anyway. No one's from fucking Queensland or South Wales.
That's from Queensland.
That's from Queensland. Yeah.
That's in Queensland.
That's right. So, and I think if they just got rid of that, then that means Callum Ponga could play for Queensland. But he's obviously a Kiwi, so then he's played and lives in Queensland. So he could play for Queensland and still play for New Zealand. I don't have a problem with that, but a lot of people do. Aussies do. But it's like, you've got so many players. Like, it's not going to hurt you that much. Shit. I think it's just really short-sighted to like still be focusing on Origin. Yeah. Because it is an epic game series and all the rest, but
the amount of people that
to the world,
in New Zealand.
Yeah, I know, which is frustrating.
It's funny though.
It is a bit funny.
I love big passive fans and stuff.
Yeah. And then, but to the rest of the world, like, it's going to be harder and harder to sell that because it's like state versus state. But like, let's say the amount of Tongans and Samoans and that live in all these different countries. Like, if you look at the Samoa in the World Cup, like, half the world was behind them because there's Samoans in pretty much every country. Like, The Rock was like, tweeting about them and shit. Like, it's just so frustrating that you see that. You're like, oh, well, there you go. Now they'll finally think,
world game.
This is how it could turn into a world game. And They go, no international test during the year because Origins on now. It's like, oh my God, like, what are you doing?
It's just that, like, it'll be a generational thing, won't it?
It will be, surely.
Someone will die, and it'll be like,
And
oh, I've got this great idea. You're like,
oh my God. Yeah.
Finally.
But anyway, that's how Lennie would fix rugby league.
And so, are you just running the podcast while the NRL's on?
Yep, so then we have a bit of a break on the off season. Then we kick back into it usually when the Maori All-Stars play that first kind of game against the Indigenous All-Stars.
Mm-hmm.
And then you were like the whole season basically. Back to episode every week.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think we're up to episode 61 or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we've got a fair way to go before we catch the likes of yourself. But
different thing.
Yeah, but it's just to be honest, it's a good hobby. Like, it's something I'm passionate about, obviously. And I get to have a beer with my mates and talk about rugby league every Monday night. Yeah. So we're actually real close to getting some players on, but then there was that RLPA strike. So they're not allowed to talk to media. And I kind of didn't really class ourselves as that. And then Jordan Ricky was set because we were trying to get him on. He's like, oh, we're not allowed to.
You'll have to get Di on.
Di Henwood.
Yeah.
He's the man, actually.
I should reach out with the ACC.
Yeah. Should reach out. But I've actually been working Jason Costigan. So he's the old school, like from all the Warriors moments when they had like Steve Price and all that.
Sensational.
Yeah.
That's Costigan.
It's all fish and chip paper now, like Costigan. Yeah. Oh, and Gutenberg. Oh, that big hit on. Yeah, anyway. So
I've watched that at 3 in the morning in Palmerston North.
Yeah.
I think it was on and on and on and on. I was like, wow.
Yeah, so hopefully getting him on. It's just like his voice just reminds me of so many good rugby league moments. So hopefully get him going on. We've got quite a few players who are keen. Like we had Bailey Simonson lined up from the Eels, but the Eels media said no podcasts.
Says no.
So that wasn't even the RIPA. It's just the Eels just said no.
So is Cheese had to stop as well?
I don't think so. I don't know. They got different rules. Anyway, we've got a few players lined up for after that finishes. So that'll be good. So keen to get some. So the first ever player and the only player we've had on so far has been Jazz Tavanga, and we've done that in the pre-season. And he was right about a lot of things. He was like, Sean Johnson, he's going to have the best year he's had in years. I've not seen him any happier at training. He's
re-signed, no way.
Yeah. Jazz was like, I've not seen him do so much actual training.
How long is that contract for?
He's just got done another 1 year, which is a bit interesting.
He's old.
But maybe he might prefer that. Because like you see it before lads like sign like a 3-year deal and their form just goes because there's not that. Well, I'm safe for 3 years.
Yeah.
So
maybe it's the thing, eh? Like you sign, like especially in his position. Well, fuck, he nearly had his face taken off the other week.
Yeah, shit. He's done well to come back on and get a try.
So shit, that was funny. But yeah, something like that could happen, and it's like, well, good night, and then you were hanging around the club trying to get back to play.
Yeah. But no, it's good to see Shawnee sign back up actually.
Yeah, no, it's pretty cool.
He's going great guns.
So are you up the wires?
Always.
Or are you the Warriors?
I'm a bit of both. I don't really have a preference.
That's so funny. Like he's like, who the fuck are the Wars?
Who made up the Wars thing? It's kind of been around. I'm pretty sure it is a kind of a newer thing, I guess. But I don't even know where that came from. But it's quite catchy, so why not?
You'll go with it.
Go the Warriors or up the Wars, whichever way you like it. Potato.
Nice, Lennie. So where do people find you and the podcast?
So you can find me, the person, the Maori CEO on Instagram. Or the podcast is Kiwi NRL podcast, or just Kiwi NRL, sorry, on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, Spotify.
Nice, we'll have to go searching for some links then. And then
that's all I know.
Fitzone
at FitzoneNZ on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok.
And across the Hauraki.
Yeah, and just everywhere. Everywhere.
Loose. So what keeps you in flow, Lennie? What's something that you live your life by? Do you have a mantra, quote?
A quote? Oh.
No, it doesn't have to be a quote. Just
something.
Yeah.
One thing I've kind of always, it's actually come from it's a lean manufacturing course I done, like Kanban system. Mm-hmm. But they was like, it's about creating positive change. Mm-hmm. So I always go with creating positive change, just in general, like with everything. If you're not doing that, then you probably shouldn't be.
Stop meddling.
Shouldn't be doing it. So it's all about, with everything you do, try and make a positive change, you know.
Bruce, thank you so much, Lennie. Thanks for hosting me in beautiful facility. And yeah.
No worries.
Get home and go watch the All Blacks.
AB's at Mount Smart Stadium. Very weird.